When she first mentioned the trip, it sounded harmless. "It's just a girls' weekend," she said with a light laugh, brushing off my questions. I wasn't accusing her of anything, just asking the usual where they were going, who was tagging along, whether they'd booked a hotel. But every time I asked, she treated me like I was being ridiculous. "You're so paranoid," she teased, curling her hand over mine. "We're going to the lake, having wine, probably doing face masks. Stop worrying." Her laugh was dismissive, but there was something about her tone that didn't sit right. Maybe it was the way she avoided eye contact when I pressed for details. Or maybe it was the fact that she mentioned a friend's cabin without ever saying whose cabin it was. Still, I didn't argue. I just nodded and said, "Enjoy." That was it. No fight, no scene. But inside, a part of me was already done chasing reassurance from someone who wouldn't give it freely. That night, while she packed, I sat at the kitchen counter scrolling on my phone. She kept flitting in and out of the bedroom, holding up outfits for my opinion. But she wasn't really asking, just showing me what she'd already decided to take. She didn't notice I was on a travel site scrolling through flights. By the next morning, she was kissing me on the cheek with a breezy, "Love you, see you Sunday," before dragging her suitcase out the door. As soon as I heard her car pull away, I closed my laptop and smiled. An hour later, I was on my way to the airport. Vegas. Bright lights, no explanations, no second guessing. I didn't need to pretend I was fine with her vague girls' weekend. Instead, I'd give her exactly what she gave me: space, freedom, and no questions asked. But I wasn't going to sit at home imagining what she was up to. I'd be too busy living my own weekend. The first night in Vegas was electric. My best friend and I hit the casino floor, laughing louder with every round of blackjack. I didn't even gamble that much. It wasn't about the money. It was about the rush of doing something on my terms, something that reminded me I had my own life outside of her orbit. Around 3 a.m., with chips stacked in front of me and neon lights blazing overhead, I snapped a photo. Nothing staged, nothing forced, just me at the tables, drink in hand, grinning like I hadn't in months. I posted it to my story. The next morning, I woke up to a string of missed calls and texts from her, all unanswered. I didn't even open them yet because I knew whatever she saw on her phone after her girls' weekend wasn't just a picture of me, it was a mirror of her own choices. And when she got back, the look on her face told me I was right. When she walked back into the apartment on Sunday evening, her expression was a storm brewing. She didn't hug me, didn't even smile. She just stood there with her arms folded, suitcase still by the door, eyes locked on me like she was waiting for me to confess to something. "Vegas?" She finally spat, her voice sharp. "Seriously? That's what you did while I was gone?" I leaned back on the couch, remote in my hand, and muted the TV. "Yeah, Vegas. Why?" Her jaw tightened. "You didn't even tell me. I had to find out from Instagram at 3 in the morning. Do you have any idea how that made me feel?" I raised an eyebrow. "How did it make you feel?" She threw her hands in the air, disrespected, embarrassed, like you don't even care about this relationship. That was rich, considering the way she brushed me off about her trip. I stayed calm, though, letting her vent. "Funny," I said slowly, "because that's exactly how I felt when you laughed off my concerns and told me to stop worrying." Her eyes flickered, guilt sneaking through the cracks in her anger. She crossed her arms tighter. "That's different. My trip was just a girls' weekend. Harmless. Yours was reckless." "Reckless," I chuckled, shaking my head. "I played a few hands of blackjack and ate too much buffet food." "What's reckless about that?" She didn't answer right away, and that silence told me more than any excuse could. I stood, walking toward her, keeping my voice measured. "See, the thing is, you didn't like how it felt when you didn't know what I was up to. When you saw me out there having fun without you. But that's exactly what you expected me to swallow when you left without answering my questions?" Her face flushed. "That's not fair." "It's perfectly fair," I cut in, my tone still calm. "I didn't accuse you of anything. I didn't stop you. I just said, enjoy, and I meant it. I wasn't going to beg you to be honest with me. But don't stand here and call me reckless because I did the same thing." She looked rattled, her anger unraveling into something closer to panic. Her voice softened, almost pleading. "I didn't do anything wrong. We just stayed at the cabin, drank wine, talked. It was innocent. I held her gaze. Then why are you so upset about me going to Vegas? She faltered, chewing her lip, her eyes darting away. The truth was clear. She wasn't angry because of where I went. She was angry because the double standard she relied on had collapsed in front of her. I picked up her suitcase and set it inside the bedroom. You said it was just a girl's weekend. I believed you. Hope you'll believe me when I say Vegas was just a guy's weekend. The silence that followed was deafening, because for the first time she realized the balance of power had shifted. She paced the living room like a caged animal, her heels clicking against the hardwood. So, who went with you? She asked finally, her voice trying to sound casual but dripping with suspicion. I leaned against the counter, sipping water, deliberately calm. Just the guys. College buddies. You've met a couple of them. Her eyes narrowed, and no. Girls. I smiled faintly. Why does that matter? Didn't you say your trip was just harmless fun? Girls only, that hit. She flinched, her lips parting like she was about to argue, but no words came. Instead, she folded her arms and shifted tactics. You should have told me at least. I had to find out from a picture of you at a casino table with stacks of chips. Do you know how that looked? I tilted my head. Looked like I was winning. Her glare sharpened. This isn't a joke, Mark. No, I said evenly, setting my glass down. But it is ironic. You laughed at me when I asked about your trip, told me to stop worrying. But now, suddenly, you're the one worried. Why is that? She bit her lip, caught in the trap of her own logic. Because it feels different, she muttered. Different how? I pressed. Her shoulders slumped, and for a second, she dropped the act. Because I don't want to lose you. That admission froze me. It was the first honest thing she'd said all night. But honesty doesn't erase hypocrisy. Then maybe, I said softly, you should have thought about how your words made me feel before you brushed me off. Her eyes glossed with frustration, maybe even shame. She sat on the couch, burying her face in her hands. I wanted to feel free for a weekend, okay? It's not tied down, not questioned. I didn't mean anything by it. I stayed quiet, letting her words hang in the air. She wasn't wrong. Everyone needs space sometimes. But it was the dismissiveness that broke trust. Finally, she looked up at me. Please, tell me straight. Did you hook up with anyone in Vegas? Her voice trembled, and I almost laughed out because it was funny, but because of the sheer irony. No, I said firmly. And the fact you even have to ask proves how fragile this has gotten. She exhaled, relief flashing across her face, but I didn't give her long to rest in it. But, I added, if I had acted the way you did, laughed at your concerns, brushed them off, wouldn't you assume the worst? Her silence was my answer. That night, she curled up in bed next to me, holding tighter than usual, as if afraid I might vanish overnight. But I didn't hold back. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, my mind buzzing with the shift in our dynamic. For the first time, she was the one worrying about me. And I wasn't sure I wanted to ease her fear. The next morning, she was quieter than usual. Normally, she'd scroll her phone during breakfast, making little comments about memes or texts from her friends. This time, her phone stayed face down on the table, like it was a bomb she was afraid might go off. I noticed her sneaking glances at me like she was waiting for me to confess something. I didn't. I sipped my coffee, scrolled through some emails, and acted like nothing had changed. Halfway through the morning, her phone buzzed. She stiffened. I caught the screen light up before she snatched it. It was one of her friends, the same girl she'd gone on the girls' weekend with. Her hands trembled slightly as she typed. I could tell she was nervous. Then a few minutes later, her friend posted a group selfie from their trip, captioned with "Best weekend ever, no secrets between us." The irony was sharp, because while she scrolled through her feed, my Vegas photos started circulating too. Not just from me, but from my friends, who tagged me openly. One of the photos was the trigger. It was me standing in front of a concert stage with a woman on my left. She wasn't touching me, just a stranger who'd happened to photobam. But the camera angle, the lights, the timing it, looked suggestive. Her head whipped up, eyes wide. "Who is that?" she demanded, shoving the phone toward me. I glanced at the picture. No idea. Random girl in the crowd. She shook her head, breathing hard. Expect me to believe that? I leaned back, calm as ever. Why wouldn't you? Unless... You think Vegas trips mean something they don't. That shut her up. She looked like she wanted to scream, but her throat locked, because she knew exactly where I was going with that. She stalked to the window, gripping the curtain like she needed something solid. You're doing this to get back at me, I shrugged. I didn't plan the photo. I didn't ask to be tagged, but I did plan one thing, showing you how it feels when the story isn't in your hands. Her voice cracked.
Das.
So what? You're punishing me. No, I said firmly. I'm showing you perspective. You laughed when I worried. You dismissed me when I asked. Now you know how it feels to stare at a screen and wonder. Her phone buzzed again. Another tag. This one from one of my buddies, me sitting at a blackjack table, grinning, chips stacked high, arm around one of my actual friends, but the angle cropped it weird. It looked like a woman. She covered her mouth, her face pale. Everyone's going to see this, she whispered. Maybe, I said, finishing my coffee. But I didn't hide my trip, did I? I owned it. Can you say the same about yours? Her silence was louder than any fight. She didn't last long in that silence. The sound of her pacing filled the kitchen, her slippers dragging against the floor. She turned suddenly, eyes sharp, voice trembling. This isn't fair. You're twisting everything. I went on my trip to relax with my friends. Not she stopped, biting her lip. Not what? I asked quietly, leaning back in my chair. Her jaw tightened. Not to betray you, but you. You planned this. Wanted me to feel paranoid. You wanted me to feel guilty. I stood up slowly, letting her feel the weight of my calm against her chaos. I didn't need to plan your guilt. That came from you. If you hadn't dismissed me, if you hadn't laughed like I was some insecure joke, maybe none of this would sting. But it does. And the sting isn't mine. It's yours. She froze, hands clenched at her sides, the words hitting harder than she wanted to admit. Then, like clockwork, her defense kicked in. Fine, she snapped. Maybe I shouldn't have laughed, but you went out there flaunting yourself. You wanted me to see those pictures? You wanted me to wonder. You're no better than me. I let out a short laugh. Not cruel, just disbelieving. The difference is simple. I didn't hide it. I didn't lie. Every single picture of me was public. You found out because I had nothing to cover. Can you say the same about yours? Her eyes darted away, guilt flickering across her face. That was the crack I'd been waiting for. She tried to pivot. So what now? You want to break up over this? You want to throw away everything we built because of a stupid trip? I shook my head. You're missing the point again. This isn't about the trip. It's about respect. It's about how easily you dismissed me, how quick you were to make me feel like I was the problem, when all I asked for was honesty. Her lip trembled. She looked at me, almost pleading. So what? You're done. You're just giving up on us. I sighed, walking past her to set my empty mug in the sink. I'm not giving up. Just tired of being the only one trying. She stood there in silence, watching me like the ground beneath her had shifted. The usual confidence she carried, that air of control, was gone. In its place was panic, the realization that she might actually lose me. Finally, she whispered, I don't want to lose you. For the first time in days, her words sounded real. But I wasn't going to jump at them. I'd learned better. And show me, I said simply. Not with excuses, not with promises. With actions. Her breath caught, and for once, she didn't have a quick comeback. Just silence, and the weight of knowing the choice was hers, and that I was no longer chasing her for it. The next few days were strangely quiet. She moved carefully around me like someone afraid of breaking glass. No more dismissive laughter. No rolling her eyes when I spoke. She was suddenly attentive, offering to cook dinner, asking about my day, even putting her phone down during conversations. But I wasn't naive. I'd seen enough to know surface changes don't mean depth. Anyone can play a part when they're scared of consequences. What mattered wasn't how she acted when she felt cornered. It was whether she could face herself without running. On the third night, she finally cracked. We were sitting on the couch, the TV humming in the background, when she turned it off abruptly. I need to say this, she blurted, her voice shaky. I was selfish. I laughed at you because it was easier than admitting I was wrong, the truth is. I didn't want to face how fragile things had become between us. It scared me. So I hid behind jokes and I hurt you. And I know sorry doesn't fix that, but I am. For a moment, I just studied her. There were no tears, No dramatics, just raw honesty flickering in her eyes. And strangely, that hit harder than any apology she'd made before. "Do you realize what you risked?" I asked quietly. My laugh might seem small, but it told me everything. It told me you didn't value what we had enough to take my feelings seriously. That's why I stopped trying, because love doesn't survive on jokes. It survives on respect. Her eyes watered, but she didn't look away. I get it now, and I don't want to be that person anymore. I want to do better. For us. The room went silent again, heavy with the weight of possibility. I leaned back, letting her words settle, and for once, I didn't rush to fill the air. I wanted her to sit with the discomfort the way I had when I'd seen those photos of myself through her eyes. Finally, I said, "Then prove it. Not today, not tomorrow, consistently. Because I won't fight alone again. I won't carry us while you mock me from behind." She nodded, almost relieved that I hadn't slammed the door shut entirely. And for the first time in weeks, there was a flicker of something real between USA's chance. Fragile and uncertain, but a chance nonetheless. That night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Part of me wondered if she could truly change. Part of me knew I'd never see her the same way again. But another part, the part still bruised but not broken, whispered that maybe respect could be rebuilt brick by brick. And if it couldn't, at least I'd know I had given her the opportunity to prove herself. This time, though, I wouldn't bend to keep us together. She would have to meet me where I stood or watch me walk away for good. If you've made it this far, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.